Hello and welcome. I am Sarawa. Today we are in the F-5 Tiger and doing cold startup. The main thing about the Tiger startup is that it's mostly just from right to left, so fairly simple. As a first step, we will turn on the battery and then request the ground crew connect and apply the air supply.
Copy. Ground air supply is now connected. Copy. Air is now applied.
And as you'll see, we can actually do that in rapid succession. We don't need to wait for them to connect the air supply. But once that's finished, you'll see that the left engine starts spooling up. And once it gets to about 10%, we can hit the left engine start button down here. And then move the left throttle to idle. That's normally, I believe, a Alt Home on the keyboard. But there's obviously a bind for it too, elsewhere. So you'll hear the left engine starting up, and while that's happening, we can close the canopy. Just continuing here from the right to the left. Turn on our oxygen supply. Set the diluter to normal. Turn on our generator switches. Turn on our boost pumps. I do not set the center boost pump because that messes up with our auto balance. You should set this to left low. Pretty much always. It'll automatically set to the center once it balances the fuel tanks. I also always set the center external tank to on, because I usually take one anyway. Always set pitot heat to on. I don't set engine anti-ice on unless I really need it. You'll actually get a message here on the warning panel. Speaking of which, we can turn off, we can cancel our master caution. We can turn on our RWR and set our gun sight to missile mode, and you'll see the gun sight turn on there. We can turn on our radio, set it to preset and main. We can uncage our pitch here. Just rotate that like 3 or 4 times. We can set our pylon switches up. That will let us launch our sidewinders. We can uncover what is essentially our master arm switch here. And also turn up our missile volume all the way. At least that's what I do in VR. That tends to be kind of quiet for me. Now we can set our nose strut extended for takeoff. We can retract our speed brake. Just remember that even if you're doing a hot start, hot or cold, the speed brake is always going to be out, so you'll always have to retract it. Same thing with the auto flaps. You want to set that to auto. We can then turn on our radar. That will take a little bit to warm up anyway, so you don't necessarily need to set it to standby first. Turn on our pitch and yaw dampers, and then set our chaff and flares to single. Now we also want to set our pitch trim. You'll see a little dial under here under the hood. Set that to about 6 or 7 for takeoff. So you'll see that we are now configured for takeoff. Our flaps are at full because they're in auto. We don't actually need to mess with the flaps for takeoff. They will retract automatically. But you'll notice that we only have one engine started so far. So I have a little trick here. We can hit our right engine start switch and then start taxiing on one engine. And remember that for nose wheel steering, you'll have to hold the nose wheel steering switch or lever, whatever you have it set to, and throttle up with the left engine. And once we start taxiing, you'll notice that the right engine starts spooling up, and then we can just move our right throttle to idle, and the engine starts starting up. And we can actually just throttle back then. We don't need to keep the left throttle advanced. We can just move them both back to idle, and the right engine continues to start. Now we have both engines started, and we are good to taxi to the runway and take off. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoy flying the Tiger.